Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good day. Hope you're all doing well. My little book lamp that I normally use to put on. Get it? No. My book lamp that I usually turn on to have my light on when it's 6 a.m. and the sun hasn't come up yet is dying slash dead. So I just used the clip to clip my phone light on. So that's why it's kind of bright. Hopefully it's not obnoxious or too bright or whatever. But today is Monday, September 29th, and I'm doing my video for Friday, the 26th. It was week 3, day 5, so day 15 in total. So we started out with ensemble music with James, and then we had movement theater with Heriberto, and then we had booths with Ollie, and then we finished with practical voice. Is that right? I think it is. Yep. So in ensemble singing, ensemble music, we um we talked a little bit about the difference of being breathed and breathing. Like breathing, we should think of as a passive exercise. It's something that we do naturally and normally. We don't breathe, we don't take in a breath. We relax and allow the breath to be taken in us. So we are breathed. It's passive. Um, yeah. And then we massaged our upper belly to feel our breath and we relaxed our jaw. And sorry, my the so there's a light right there, but my big old head is blocking it when I try to like look at this. So we'll adjust. Aha. Um, so when getting a oh, we talked about getting a friend's attention at a distance and how we take in the exact amount of breath that we need. We don't go like, "Hey, how are you?" Right? We go, "Hey, how are you?" Once again, 6 a.m. So we'll be quiet. But 6:20 got late all of a sudden. Must have got distracted. And then you breathe in the distance to fill the space in your body. Your body knows what to do to help you as long as you let it. When singing and when speaking Shakespeare, our body knows how much we need to for each line and everything. We just need to like allow it to happen. And then we we spoke to a distant point with the z sound. So we're like zzz, to get that kind of focus on the breath. And we did sirens with a relaxed face and on the NG sound, the right? We allowed our tongue to rise to the back of our teeth to make sure that our jaw wasn't getting activated, and to isolate that area. James talks about how there's two nightmares in singing. One of them is the jaw getting engaged and just getting tense, and then the tongue getting overly involved and out of the way. You want to keep your tongue fixed and your jaw relaxed or released, as Jess likes to say. Um, Encourage yourself to use the path of least resistance, right? Sometimes we want to force ourselves to sing correctly or well, but it's really the path of least resistance that is most healthy to sing. And then we did a staccato little the warm up. We're gonna the. That's what it was. The. Then we kind of went up, and then we did pairs of ah 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 ah. something like that. That's what I wrote. You can see I tried to make it make sense. E ah 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 ah. And then we talked about avoiding the glottal upset, which is that sound that like that glottalization, which is closing of the throat back there, and then famous sound like ball, oh, ah, 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 ah. It's when your glottal closes. And then we made some sad Santa. Oh, 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 oh. And we did a little minor arpeggio on whoa with that kind of oh, very back in the throat, dark sound. And it can be helpful to use this emotion to open up something new. Then we did some nya 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 for like belt sound, which he said, think of it like a little furry, fantastical Disney creature. And he said even raising your shoulders a little bit can activate that sound, can help you with it. And then we sang the round that we learned the other day, which let's see if I remember the melody, but it was Ah, poor bird, take thy flight far above the sorrow of this dark night. Ah, poor bird, take thy flight far above the sorrow of this dark night. And then we did that in the round a little bit. Then we learned a new one, a famous Elizabethan canon, which was hard because it was on a like the key that he picked was a little difficult because it was just a little low. So I sang up with the women a little bit, but I don't remember that one. It's like Rose, Rose. It says Rose four times, and then shall I ever see thee? I'll just read it first. I don't remember the melody. Rose, 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 shall I ever see thee wed? I marry that thou shalt when thou art dead. Rose, shall I ever see thee wed? I marry thou when thou art dead. I don't remember. Anyway, I marry is a pun because I marry was a term to say I wager in Elizabethan meaning. And then we combined the two so that we started with Rose, 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 and then went into Ah, Poor Bird. And then we we did that. Yeah, it was great. And he talked about let's just like always being on it and being prepared. And what he wants to do is you don't have to like know how to memorize music, like know how to sight read and do all those things super well, but but what he does want you to know is how to be competent with music. If music is given, you can follow it, you can learn it. Because most of it's visual. The note goes up on the staff, it goes up in the register. Um, and it's in my interest to learn the way for me to process new information and process it quickly because that's super important. The more quickly I can do something and do it efficiently and well, the more valuable I am as a person because time is money. Um, then we got new music, which was Accentuate the Positive from Here Comes the Waves, which is a motion picture. And then we kind of processed the text and just like went over it. And then, sorry, I can't read my handwriting for a second. Once you start to put a pin in what the text is about, whatever you choose it to be your destination, you need to be true. Oh, so once you like read through it and you decide what you want it to be about, which any piece, any music, any text has different themes and different ideas, and so you choose which one you want to focus on, and you be true to that destination, and have all of your choices support that meaning that you're trying to take. And then he said how we're not just musicians, but we're musical storytellers, and so we need that. And then he kind of broke it down into like four passes as you're learning some new material. The first pass is like, what is this about? What is it saying? Second pass is, what does it shape? What is it like to me? And then the third pass is getting the sound um, in that space, sounding it out a little bit. And the fourth pass is, what does it feel like? What's the movement of this piece, especially in the space? And this isn't to empower us to be ready. It doesn't matter if you know it all, um, right? Target, deliver, next thought. Then, and that was like what we were doing is as we were reading it, we would pick somewhere to say it to or someone to say it to. We would deliver that, and then we'd move on to our next thought. And that's a great way to like just kind of focus on the meaning. Give it as someone or something to give it to. And then the characters in most musicals are changed by singing. Pop music, you kind of just sit in the emotion. But that's why when we're doing musical theater, it's important to see how the character can be changed. Then we walked in a line and we turned with each new thought, which is very similar to what we were doing in George's class with the sonnets. We would walk and then turn when it was punctuation or otherwise. And so our homework is to get familiar with the melody. No need to memorize it. I don't, I don't think I wrote down all my homework. Okay, then we moved to movement theater with Heriberto. And today was all about, well, this day, Friday, was all about rhythm, which I struggle with for any of those homies that know me. So we started by walking. Also, this is a movement class, and so I might have missed some things, but I tried to write it down afterwards. But we walked. We walked around because that's how we warm up. That's how we get in the space. And then we walked with pairs. Um, and we were trying to fill the space. We were trying to. Um, so we have our room, right? And we want equidistance between everyone, so we just fill the space. And we had all these lines and these empty spots. But I was in a trio again, and then. Um, we held on to each other's hips and we let them lean. And I'll explain this in a second. To lean like off balance while the other person supported you. So you like hold them by the hips and you let them extend and then they lean forward. And the idea is when we're off balance, we have an inclination to be like, hold our breath and be like, I'm uncomfortable, right? But we were supposed to relax into it. So as we leaned forward, we breathed and we like released. So we would lean forward and we're off balance and really engage the lower breath and not have the shallow, nervous breath. Um, our third partner was able to work with Heriberto, and so it was good. And then we did it with as we breathe, we put our arms out to even unbalance us more and kind of feel that release and that feeling. And then we did it with our eyes closed. And then we held back our partner as they were walking strongly and then released them to have them walk with purpose and lead from their center, right? Like their hips, so that there's purpose to it. Don't lead with your head or with your knees or hunched, but just like lead with your center, with your hips. That'll give you purpose. Yeah. And I held my partner back. First, we discovered where where one couldn't go much further. Also, he was wearing socks at first, so he just slipped once, but he didn't get hurt. I caught him. And then I got to go. And then we got a new pairs. I was with someone else, and we walked together. And then we tried to match, like walk to a beat. And so it was like one, two, three, four, and we are just walking together with the same feet. So like one, no, one, 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 two, three, four, whatever. That's hard to do. But like right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And then that was easy. And then we switched to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that we're sharing half the beats. And then um, we walked to a jazz song that was 5/4. And so one person would do one, then the other 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, wait, was it? No, we didn't do five at this point. I mean, seven. That was next. So one person's doing 1, 2, 3, while the others, no, 1, 3, 5, while the other's doing 2 and 4. That's what it was. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And so they had two. So it's, let me see if I can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So like 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Except for it was pretty quick too. So it was like what? Might have been doing it. I don't know. Check my work. But it's just hard to get that in my head and be consistent. And you're stepping with one foot at a time, and so the one beat is on a different foot because it's uneven, because it's 1, 3, 5, 1. And so it's the third one. And so it's like right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And so you're switching off every one beat. It was confusing. And then um we emphasized. Before we did that, so sorry. We emphasized the one. So it's like we stepped on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And then we emphasized the one and the three and the five. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we broke up and we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we did it to 7/4. And so one person was going 1, 3, 5, while the other was going 2, 4, 6, 7. And luckily we he picked a song that had the bass playing to the 1, 3, 5, and then claps to the 2, 4, 6, 7. But we're still like we're going through it. It was so tricky until we got the music, and then it was with the music. I was like, oh, that's not too hard. That's fine. Then we had lunch, and after lunch we had the oh so famous and always important booths. I've been saying booths with a v instead of a like a vocalized th instead of an aerated or non-vocalized th. Booths. I don't know why. No one else is doing that. It's not a British thing. It's just a me thing. Booths. Anyway, so first of all, Ollie talked about seeing Titus Andronicus at the Hampstead Theatre, which was an RSC, Royal Shakespeare Company transplant to this. And and he was like, yeah, it was really bloody, but he enjoyed the show. And it's great because I had tickets for that on Saturday, which it was bloody and enjoyable. Um, Interesting. Yeah, it's the most blood I've ever seen in a show. They had a hose at one point and it was just like spraying people with blood, which is a little goofy. I don't know. It was a thing. Like hands got cut off and people were beheaded and gutted and bled and lots of things going on. Anyway, um, so after that, Ollie wanted to establish kind of the space, and so we all walked around, kind of got in the space, got in our bodies a little more, and got prepared for 2 minutes, and then we all walked out, and then we re-entered the room to keep the sacredness and sanctity of the booths, which is cool. I like that ritualistic stuff. Um, yeah, it always seems a little odd for people like not involved, but it's helpful for me. And then we started doing it, and there was one student who took some extreme risks, and they did a booth about a character who was currently in the Middle East as a soldier in the US military. And especially, I think they had some position of leadership because they made a booth to their father saying how this mission went wrong and people died, and one of his commanders like shot a kid, and it was just a mess, and he was so upset, and he just wanted to go home. He didn't know what was happening, and then he ran out of time, and he was just breaking down and having this emotional moment. And then he got like really mad, and at the end he because at the end you get the record, and he threw it on the ground. He just started punching the ground and destroying this record, and it was very intense, and he may have broken his hand. His knuckle was bleeding, and then it swole up pretty bad. And it was a moment not of fear from the class, but just worry. We were just worried about him, and we were worried about his hand. And then we had a great little conversation about limits and how to access these important good emotions, but being able to keep our hands on the reins, and being able to control the emotion. Because I think this is why we're here at school, right? We want to learn how to control ourselves, and we want to learn how to be in touch with ourselves, and to do this very vulnerable and difficult thing, but healthily, right? We want to be able to access these extreme emotions of anger and sorrow and depression and defeat and love and lust and all of these different human expressions, but we still want to be able to, like at the end of the scene, step away from it. And in Hollywood, you hear these stories about um, people going to these extreme measures to accomplish these emotions, and then holding it like a badge of honor. Like, I know there's an interview with, oh, what's her face, plays 11 on Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Brown, and she had a scene in season 2 where she was having like a vision, like an artificial vision of her papa, and she was crying, and she said that after that scene she just kept crying for hours. And that's not the point. I don't think that's what we should aspire for, is to have this extreme emotion and just feel it, but we should aspire for the ability to control it. That after the scene is done, we can feel better, you know? And so it was a good moment. He went down to the main office and got some ice. Um, I think he was worried about how we would think of him or feel about him, but we were just worried for him. I don't think any of us are afraid of him or anything. Um, Yeah, we had some other great booths. All right. I don't want to give away too many of the ideas. I don't know, but we had a dictator who was speaking to the new like rebel who overcame the dictator, the new leader, to not forget everything that was built. We had a low-level worker at Jurassic Park trying to get off the island. We had a customer complaining about service. We had someone leaving a message for a date. Um, Hoping to get a second, and we had someone getting revenge on a lawyer who was promoted ahead of them, a special agent leaving a message for another agent to mess with somebody, letting an ex know that they had weird faces during sexual intercourse, which was quite a funny one. And then a kid who ran off to New York City, and they were talking to their mom about their band that didn't work. That one was really sad, but kind of, I don't know, solemn, heartfelt, impactful, I think is a good word. And then I want to talk. Oh, notifying a father um, that they were getting married, but specifically not inviting them. A prank pregnancy call to a friend, a dating booth. It was a bunch of cool ideas. Mine was about a father who um, was in the hospital, and his daughter was this hotshot reporter in Taiwan. She was just visiting Taiwan, and gets the news that he's going to die before she gets back. And so he makes this record to give her something to remember him by, and to say some things that he hadn't been able to say and didn't realize. And hopefully, that the question is he going to say goodbye? Is he going to tell her or not? And I left that up to the moment to feel it. And I was just about to say it when it kind of ended, but as the character, I apologized for not being there, and I apologized for kind of what I felt and how I treated her. And I thought I was doing it for them, but I wasn't quite. And I felt really good about this one, because the last one I felt like I got taken out of it and that I was underprepared and all this stuff. But it helped me be ready for this one, even though this one's still kind of, the time snuck up on me, but has some genuine emotion, and I really enjoyed it. Thought it was good. Um, some notes I took are that we are focusing on the craft, not unbridled emotion. We need to find a way to do it and keep our hands on the reins. The audience doesn't care if you, the actor, are feeling it. It's all about believability. Make sure that the story and the situation makes logical sense. If there are holes in the situation, there are holes in the character. We gotta Oh, we got a little bit of feedback today through questions that Ollie asked us. And then he then gave us suggestions for our next booth. Um, he called them, I can't remember what his word was. It was leads, directions. I don't know. The idea was, it was a push. I don't think he said it to our class, which is why I don't remember it and didn't write it down. Nudges. It was the idea that this is not a prompt per se, but this is a way to put you in a certain direction. Um, Something that I really liked whenever other people were discussing their booths is they had a specific goal. They're like, I wanted to do this, to accomplish this, to improve from my last booth, or to accomplish something different. And I didn't have something clear except do better, prepare was my goal. Almost almost sneezed. Um, so I want to make a specific goal for this week's booth. And then I want to practice 3 different times, 3 different days before next Friday. So I want to do something today, Wednesday, maybe Thursday or something. I don't know. And then keep the specificity in the circumstances and allow for options in the character and in the dialogue. I thought that was cool. Find the balance between practice and improv. In real life, we know what we're going to say. We prep it sometimes, even write it down at times. So don't underdo things. And then think about the stakes, kind of what are the costs of these conversations. And we talked a little bit about emotion as well, as other actors got emotional in their scenes, and how crying is an unwanted waste product for our characters. I like the way Ollie phrases things. So I write down his direct quotes a lot. And then how do we navigate the emotion, the truth of our own response when acting? Our brain responds as if it were real. right? Our brain can't distinguish between acting and experiencing. It's all the same for our brain. So how do we kind of create those ways to step out of something as well as step into it? And how do we be healthy? It was a great lesson about emotion. My homework, my prompt, my direction, my steer, that's what he called it, a steer, is to threaten someone close to me, which I'm excited because it's a good way to find differentiation because I've done a lot of, well, the two I've done both had to do with kind of death and this layer of trying to be happy about it, and so I'm excited that I got to threaten. Also, some more notes. You don't need to tell the audience everything, right? There's power in and reality in keeping a lot of it to yourself. You don't like get on a phone call and say, "Hi, mom, it's me, your son, who's been depressed but is now doing all right. I'm glad that you're answered." Right? That's so clunky and unnatural. What isn't said speaks volumes. Circumstance doesn't affect character, but does affect character, but ultimately you, the actor, decide what the character is, who the character is, because circumstance can affect people differently, right? So who is your character and how they respond to that is your decision. And then I just did a little reflection. I said I felt good about my booth and I'm happy with it. I connected with the character and I said I cried at the end. Congrats, big deal. Um, when I didn't say goodbye. And I think the reason I emphasized that was that I felt it. And yeah, it's just the emotion flowed naturally, which was nice. And then we had our last class was practical voice. And once again, I wasn't able to have my book, my little notes with me a lot because we were doing like on the ground yoga and things. So I should remember some homework that I didn't do. I suppose I do my gurning exercises. Anyway, so this was the Tamsin practical voice, and we reviewed what we learned last week. We walked on the different parts of our feet again, just to remember that. We explored holding different parts of our bodies while we walked, like our shoulders, like how does it feel to walk up here? And our guts, like how does it feel to suck in? And it that a lot of people felt like their breath got really shallow or they felt physically stressed. And there is that connection to our body and our emotions and our mind. Like they've done scientific studies that if you, I don't know if I have a pencil with me, but if you hold a pencil in your mouth like this, long ways, that's activating the frowning muscles and your mood actually worsens. And if you hold a pencil like this, which activates the smiling muscles, you actually feel better. So not even just the act of smiling making you happier, but the activation of the muscles improves your mood, which is fascinating. And so we saw how that affected us. And I get my shoulders up in my ears a lot. And so for me, it didn't seem too abnormal. It was an extreme way, but holding in my gut made my breath really shallow and really high. And we had a little break. Then we played with um, holding these things on the ground. So we got out our yoga mats, we laid down um, in a supine and then semi-supine, supine, feet up, flat back, head, and then semi-supine, bended knees with the body out. Ah, whew, tired. Gotta go soon. Um, and so then we checked with our bodies. We kind of just connected. We mentally went through our feet, and then our legs, and then our knees, and then our thighs, and then our hips, and our abdomen, and our chest, and our arms, and our face. And we kind of just did a body check. Oh, and before this, oops, sorry, it was hard. writing these things down because I had to remember that. But we also did this little shower to warm up our body, which is you just like go through your body and you kind of rub it a little bit. You're like, I love my arms, I love my hands, I love my legs, I love my feet, I love my calves, I love my shins. Um, just kind of connecting with your body and giving appreciation to it. And then we tense different parts of our body and release them. First, our hands, I mean, our feet and our hands and our arms, and we did our whole body a few times. We did the whole body, I think, 3 times. And then it's been a long week. And while Tamsin was guiding us through this and talking about things, I definitely fell asleep like 3 times. But just for a second, then I realized like I didn't understand what she was saying. I was asleep because their talking just became noise in my dreams. Um, then we rolled on to our front into child's pose after being supine. But instead of our arms extended out like in a regular child's pose, it was kind of just here, very relaxed, which was nice. Oh, and then we rocked forward and hooked our toes under, and then brought our hips up towards the ceiling. And then we're just folded over, like with our arms reaching towards our feet. Like if that was all the way, we're bent at the waist. And then we were breathing and connecting to a sound as we were rolling up in a very controlled and slow manner. Then we walked around a bit to wake up. We massaged our bodies to activate the blood more. I think we also did this after holding. It's like, oh, just like feel your body. My shoulders get tense. And then we did a breathing exercise with the beach ball that we did the other day. Like, but we did it both ways. So we did it this way and this way. And we connected our breath with it. And then we discussed about it. And it was really nice. And then Tamsin said she was going to email us a chapter to read for homework. And she's going to send it today, as in Monday. And that was Friday, the 28th, did I say? 26th. Very off. And it's been good. Week 3 was really nice. Um, Over the weekend, I finished Comedy of Errors. I didn't go to the cemetery to talk about it with some students, but I think I will next time. And we'll see which is our next play to read. But it was good. And I saw Titus Andronicus. Um, and it was fun, entertaining. Not a lot of redemption in that show. Just a bunch of people that are unhappy and murderers. But yeah, anyway, great day. I'll try to keep these videos entertaining. Oh wait, that would have been that way. Whatever.